Good evening, free enterprise fans around the world. Welcome to the final restream of the Lali-Ho Swiss round 6 between Locke and Poorly Drawn Bees. My name is Morpheus, and I am joined by smells like pancakes for the first time in the booth. Welcome to commentary, Pancraz.
Hey, thank you very much, boss. I'm glad to be here.
I am super happy to have you here for this match with me. Again, we have Locke versus Poorly Drawn Bees, two runners at 3-2. This is an elimination match, win or go home, or tie, and everybody gets to win. But yeah, this is an exciting one. Two runners who have had very difficult paths to get here, some tough opponents along the way. But Pancraz, what are you looking forward to most in this race? Is it the objectives, whether fake or real? Is it some, cool niche tech? What are you looking for out of this one?
Well, there's a lot of secrets, apparently, according to our objectives, so I would love to know what these secrets are. And hopefully, the runners find out the secrets that the seed is going to hold for them. We have our standard 3 objectives, but we also have a double boss hunt for this one. I personally don't like playing double boss hunts, but for a viewer experience, I feel like it makes for a really interesting time. So I really want to see like one runner find one of them in a really weird spot and the other find the other in another weirder spot, just to keep things interesting, you know?
So what you're saying, or rather what I'm hearing, is we just want Kainatsu at elements.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
65,000 health worth of waves is always a good old time. That's what
It's
I'm
an
hearing.
absolute blast, yeah.
So
And
for
then maybe
our
back Tech Odin.
Oh, Bagatech Odin always fun. The Zantetsuken around the world is a great time for everyone but the runners. But as far as our runners are concerned, they do have a cane start. And this being Swiss flags, we start with a dwarf kit. That's a pretty fantastic little start there for the runners, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this start, Pancraz?
Definitely agree. That Dwarf Axe adds a lot of early power to either a Sid or a Kane. We've got the Kane in this case. Combined with the Strength Ring, we're going to be able to blaze through all of those early checks. I almost want to see a little less looting and lean into the heavy power that the Kane will offer, but part of that will also depend on who our second starting character is.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping we have a second starting character because there are some situations where you just kind of stare aimlessly at the screen and wonder what you have done to deserve whoever Kane could be paired with. Let's hope
Yeah,
we
it's a
can
little
avoid
weird
that.
sometimes.
Yeah, let's hope we can avoid that for our runner's sake. I do want to thank real quick Dathis for putting on the show behind the scenes here as our restreamer, and also Solaris, who I believe is on tracking this evening for their first time, or maybe the first time in a while anyway. But we have a lot of experienced restreamers on this squad tonight, so this is going to be super fun.
Definitely.
But I do know that as far as these objectives are concerned, I'm particularly excited always for the first objective, that completing Cave Magnus, because I like music, and one of the
Who
cool
does?
things that's randomized is the song. Any particular songs or anything you like to hear from the wonderful Calamity, who does the harp music?
I mean, there's so many fantastic ones in the pool. It's hard to narrow it down to just a couple. But Lufia music is always welcome, and just any of the new songs, so many of them have been absolutely fantastic. Calm's work is truly amazing to behold, or be here, rather. But it looks like we are about to behold the start of this seed.
Ooh,
I'm
I
ready to
know.
tell.
Yeah, Tella and a package. I knew you said you didn't want looting, but that early exit makes Watery Pass pretty appealing.
Yeah, definitely. Could maybe try to spike a couple high tier pieces of loot, but I'm also interested to see if either runner goes and checks that package. It is an early gated character check. You have the chance to get a Fusoya, to get an Edge, or to just maybe get like a Cecil to wield the Holy Sword that we might find later.
Well, I was unaware until right now that Fusoya was back. I thought he was banned from all the tournaments.
Ah,
It's
no, that
good
was
for
just
the
the
old
previous
man to
song.
come back though.
Definitely. He's been making quite the stir in the Swiss round so far, with the microwave of destiny unleashing all its power throughout the seeds.
And looks like you're getting your wish, and both
Hey.
runners heading straight to Mist, either for a cave check for maybe a vanilla D Mist, or to check on that character. Gonna give you what you wanted. There's some D Lunars hanging out in Mist Cave, so wrong D dot something hanging out there.
And it looks like the wrong character as well. Just a dupe Tella at the package. Unfortunate, but maybe one of the runners goes through with it. Nope.
Yeah, first Tella is amazing. Second Tella is arguably about as useful as second Edward.
The diminishing returns are kind of extreme on that one.
And it does look like we get a traditional start here from Poorly Drawn Bees, kind of giving up on that early looting. Looks like going to take that Dwarfax Cane and head straight up Mount Hobbs, and going to be, I guess, rewarded with a Porom?
If you want to call it a reward, sure. But ultimately, it is a white mage. It is a source of berserk if you get XP. Or it's a fantastic anchor, as I know that you like to use her as.
A 7 agility means that Fusoya stays at relative agility 1.
Yep,
So,
nothing to cough at there.
but it does look like Poorly Drawn Bees using some nice tech here, used Cure 2 with Tella offensively to wipe out 2 of those ghasts, being that they are undead. That's a pretty heads up to clear them quickly.
Definitely. Now you just have to chew through the lingering HP pool that Mylon himself will have. But fortunately, it won't be too much with it being in the Hob spot. Couple
And
jumps, couple attacks, should be through in little to no time. Something
yeah,
that won't take little to no time is that gauntlet that we see on Locke's side.
and that gauntlet there, one nice thing that was found was a Boreas, but that's also a second Cane. So that means so far we're looking at Tella, Cane, and Porum. Apparently, variety is not the spice of life in this seed. But looks like we also have an evil wall hanging out in the waterfall. That is a very welcome sign for the runners. That is a boss that can cause folks a ton of trouble. Evil Wall is a jerk. Evil Wall cheats the ATB system, so I know I would be very happy to see Evil Wall out of the way.
100%. Like, if this does end up being a hook seed, having him out of the pool, assuaging that worry in your mind that he could show up in the King Queen Evelyn spot is a huge weight off the runner's shoulders. And plus, you know that he can't show up cheating on the moon to try and ruin your day and prevent you from getting your last objective.
Yeah, Lunar Evil Wall is worst Evil Wall. I mean, maybe maybe King Queen Evelyn spot is worst. I do notice that our runners are looting various places throughout so far. Nothing really big in the way of loot so far. I think the best thing I've seen was a full moon in the pot outside of Baron Inn for Locke, but kind of dry for T. Wilish so far.
Yeah, definitely. Part of that comes from just where we've been looting. The loot distribution isn't as favored for those higher tier items, but also, yeah, it's just kind of not turning up anything.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how much looting is done here in Antlion. Another one of those low priority spots as far as the distribution is concerned. But every once in a while, you can find, things like white spears, Gungnir spears, even a defense sword lying around, something to really get, that cane going. I know that there was a flame spear, but that's not quite, the early type endgame material you want to find.
Wait, so you mean those ice arrows that we picked up aren't gonna just accelerate our early game?
I mean, if there's a ruby, sure. But looks like we have Locke getting into the Mylon and Friends fight, and Poorly Drawn Bees has found, well, Kainatsu is somewhere in this fight, but can account towards the objective, as this is just elements here.
Oh, there's that ruby to use those ice arrows that we just mentioned, but fortunately the timing doesn't quite work out for Bees with that Fire 1 cast. I think Kane just high-rolled the first hit a little bit. A little unlucky on that front, but shouldn't be an issue for her.
Yeah, the Kane with the Dwarf Axe, he's going to do a lot of damage. And worst case scenario, we'll probably end up seeing Kainatsu here. That Fire 3 doing next to nothing. In fact, Porum straight up dodging it because Porum doesn't give a darn and is apparently OP.
I mean, outfit her with a wizard hat, a wizard shirt, and a rune ring. She'll dodge a couple things.
Ooh, and we have a potential hook seed. That's interesting with this start because, yes, we have two Tellas, two Canes, and a Porum, so we have all the white mages. But two Canes is not exactly the DPS you want, so I think our runners are really going to hope for a high quality character from this hook dive.
And not to mention that there's all that juicy loot in the Cave Eblin. That is one of those locations with the higher tier loot. Maybe you dive in there, you full loot the cave, try to spike one or even two cane weapons to outfit those canes, and maybe something for the character who's ultimately at the end.
That's certainly true, and also that shop, in Cave Eblin cannot be understated how valuable it is. Two guaranteed tier 5 consumables in there. Things like coffins, hourglasses, sirens, elixirs, all of the really handy dandy stuff that just makes a lot of the tough fights free or free adjacent anyway. So that'll be something interesting as well. And maybe even finding like a Gungnir spear in a shop to just flat out buy it.
Oh, yeah. Picking up the crystal armor in the Damsian upper ground, second floor, I don't know. Will definitely help fund a purchase along those lines if there is something in the shop that these runners want to buy.
Yeah, definitely. That crystal armor has two really good uses. One is for cover strats for the Cecil who has not yet shown up, and the second is for selling because it sells for a lot of money, somewhere around like I want to say 12 or 13k, which can fund a lot of your adventure when it comes to the hourglasses, the coffins, the silk webs, and the tents. Wow, this shop.
Yeah, quite the load to shop here in Evelyn. With the hourglasses, would you be tempted to go hunt out the stalemate chest, hunt out maybe even the trap chest in Evelyn Castle, and see if you can spike a really nice piece of loot out of that?
I don't think I would be yet because I don't have a weapon for Kane. I'm concerned how long it would take to get through Stalemen because they have, 2,200 health apiece, I think.
That's true.
That might be rough for this party to get through. So maybe we'll see some looting from Poorlydrawnbees on the way through here and pick up an item to facilitate. Oh boy, that's...
Well, that's not going to help facilitate the early game much.
That's an Edward on the hook route. So our character counts, and by the way, a Sparkle could be an Ogopogo hook route with a team of Kane, Edward, Tella, and Porum. If that's the case, Dathis, who hurt you, and we can help. So let's hope it's not Ogopogo.
I mean, Ogopogo might not be the worst, because with Porum, with Double Tella, you will have access to 3 blinks if you do want to go through the entire package cutscene to get a second Tella, which will negate or, help counteract some of the bite of the Ogopogo there. But it's still not a pleasant fight.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've seen D-Lunars, so we know it's not that. It can't be Wyvern unless there's a magma key floating around somewhere, or D-Mist with, alternate access underground. So there's some things that are pseudo-eliminated, which means Pale Dim is just punchy but cheesable with Blink. Plague is just flat-out cheesable. And then Ogopogo, which is a little less pleasant. However, a Cursed Ring and a White Spear and a Crystal Ring. That'll get the party started for Poorlydrawnbees.
Definitely. Always nice to pick a really nice cane weapon up early on, really help accelerate things even more than that Dwarf Axe does.
Yeah, and the single nicest part about that White Spear, and this is something that I often forget myself and see a lot of other folks forget, using it as an item will cast a white spell for somewhere between 700 and 900 damage in most of the early overworld spots, and that just gets you through fights so fast.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's some point or some gear threshold where you'll probably want to start swinging, but that white will definitely help out.
And we see Poorlydrawnbees heading over to Eblin Castle while Locke is diving this hook route. I wonder if Poorlydrawnbees is going to do some extra looting here. Looks like they are, maybe taking trap chests as well. This could be a very defining moment early on in the seed if something like an Avenger shows up.
Yeah, you mentioned not wanting to go here because you didn't have much of a weapon for Kane. Well, now you've got a white spear. You've got those hourglasses. You can probably take these fights with a little bit of time invested.
Yeah, and I mean, the reward is, I mean, there's a Soma drop. That's huge to start off. That can give you Meteo access on Tella once Ordeals is done. These Black Cats and Lamias, though, they are not nice. So
No, not at
an
all.
hourglass may be needed here.
If they let a a party member live long enough to toss it, we do see get thrown with Tella is an action cue.
Yeah, I think the old man is going to save the day here. That 340 health and the defensive equipment. I think the wizard hat, the wizard shirt, maybe even like a protect ring, might have ended up on that Tella. So a lot of defensive gear put on him, but looks like it paid off to save this fight, get some XP, and get a shot at a tier 7 item. Which I think the distribution here is like 30% tier 5, 30% tier 6, and 40% tier 7, if I remember right from these chests.
Yeah, it is a very high chance to spike a real good piece of loot here. It's just, how are the die going to roll for this seed?
And that's where we see Kane swinging for 270. Unfortunately, not quite going to get the job done, but that jump will. The Black Cats are down. No Bluster today. The Lamia is down. A bunch of levels coming in. Cure 2, Life, Mute. Some multipliers for Kane and an Excalibur for the wrong melee character. Still a really nice find, though.
Yeah, definitely. If we do stumble across a Cecil later on in the seed, there's still so many character checks open to us. If he shows up, that'll be a huge advantage for Bees, being able to get him with his penultimate weapon.
Yeah, that Excal being the second best, as you stated, weapon for Cecil. Third best weapon in the game behind the spoon and a crystal sword. Not including Supersmith, of course, which is a fun new flag that everyone can play with when creating their own seeds. That is going to do a big hunk of damage anytime Cecil gets to swing. The sheer power of Cecil and his holy swords is just, it cannot be understated. It's so good in this game.
It's almost like he's the protagonist or something. You really want to make him strong.
I mean, I prefer to keep that crystal armor and just let him, kind of defensively get through the seed and showcase that side of him. You don't always have to have power overwhelming.
I mean, but isn't cover just another form of power overwhelming, rather?
That is true.
Defense is solid.
And it looks like we have, in case you didn't get an Excal from the Black Cats and the Lamias, how about getting one from the Staleman? Heads up job by Locke to use the Poison Axe there to get through that. So that early advantage or potential advantage that you had spoken about for Poorlydrawnbees having that Excal, well, the seed decided no one gets an advantage.
Everyone gets an Excal. Use it how you want.
And meanwhile, Poorlydrawnbees is through Water Hag at Fabul Defense. Not a huge surprise there. 3 hits, and it's done. And Poorlydrawnbees is going to be the first of our runners to give us information from Fabul. And there's another character check. I don't recall who was in bed, if we've been able to get a peek at it yet.
I don't believe either runner has landed anywhere nearby Kaipo to peek that character so far.
So
it could be that Cecil to use that Excal we just picked up. It could be a Fu, could be an Edge.
Or
it could be a dupe Edward.
Yep, I was going to say third Edward.
Just what we want with this team.
I mean, if you have enough Edwards and you find a spoon, you could just berserk glitch the spoon from one Edward to the next.
Just hot potato around a bit.
Yep. Probably not going to happen because that's a really unreliable way to win any fights in this game.
Yeah, especially with Edward's HP pool, you're always at risk of him just getting smacked, and then you lose that hefty power that it might offer.
And surprising nobody, Poorlydrawnbees beelining over, and, well, it's a different character. Sid is great, but Sid is not who you want to see with this party.
No, not quite. He's not an unwelcome addition necessarily. We've picked up an Ogre Axe and a Poison Axe, possible, or at least on Locke's side. We do have some weapons for him, but not quite the heavy hitter or super mage that you were quite looking for.
Yeah, this is the type of team where you would want to have picked up a Fusoya, a Palom even. Probably not a Rosa, interestingly enough, because you have all the Blink and Cure already in the world. Cecil would have been really nice, obviously. But yeah, Sid, not exactly who our runners wanted. Locke going to make his way up Ordeals, going to be the first of our runners to show us what's up there. And more importantly, get Tella online, get him all of those spells. Because with the damage output on this team, kind of just relying on Kane right now, maybe a little bit from Sid, Tella's level 3 magic and his virus spell could come in handy for our runners. But looks like Poorlydrawnbees about to find out about this gauntlet. Meanwhile, Locke finding out there is a Baigen in the first spot on Ordeals, one of the least punchy spots in the game. So this is a very welcome sight again for Locke. So, no Evil Wall, no Baigen in rude spots on the moon. And Poorlydrawnbees going to take a crack at this gauntlet. This is a very aggressive line.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if she's really trying to get that Kane and then make a really aggressive early hook dive, or possibly go back to Evelyn, get Kane, or get levels on that Kane and try to spike a second weapon for him. It's going to be really interesting to see where the runners go next.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. The gauntlet here is particularly annoying. In this case, without having virus on Tella, he actually contributes in a very meaningful way in this fight once he has the virus spell. So, yeah, and Poorlydrawnbees says, I'm good and probably going to seek greener pastures elsewhere, and that may take Poorlydrawnbees up Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, definitely agree with probably coming back a little bit later. Both runners did pick up a curse during Encave Evelyn, so you can set up your agility so Tella will be going first in that gauntlet fight. You can rattle off those viruses super fast, clear everything out before any turns even happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
To come back.
Yeah, I think one of the defining skills of a good or great runner is knowing when it is not worth the time investment to do something and knowing when to come back instead of trying to bang your head into something over and over and over again if it's not your absolute last check. So I think that's really heads up from Poorlydrawnbees, just simply knowing without a Stardust Rod, without the virus spell, without some good form of AoE, it's just way too much time.
Something that isn't way too much time, these coffins on the Baron guards. Heads up from Locke to use those that he purchased in Evelyn Cave, get through this fight a lot faster, and throw those life potions to try and get a little bit extra XP on his party.
Yeah, without having sirens available and knowing there's a sparkle on the hook route, any XP is good XP. Those life glitches, while they won't give much on the guards there, that is going to take it from 4,000 to 6,000 XP. That extra 2k could go a long way.
Definitely, especially getting Porum to an earlier Berserk, an earlier Blink. Try to get her contributing a little bit more with this team.
Most definitely. And looks like Locke is our first runner through the back attack spot and is rewarded with the Adamant Rock. So that points us even more in the direction of that hook route. And we see, because you didn't have enough guards on Mount Ordeals, have some officers and soldiers.
It's almost like the Kingdom of Baron is just guarding this place. Who'd have thunk?
And looks like Locke is jumping to kill that officer first and is taking out the smaller guards with some small spells. And now that that officer is gone, the soldiers will just decide to attack themselves because they get very confused without leadership.
I mean, don't we all?
That's true. We'd all be very confused without Scala telling us what to do all day.
Yep.
But looks like Locke is through Mount Ordeals proper. Should he ever find a Cecil, and given the amount of Excals we found, it's highly unlikely that there's going to be a Cecil in this seed.
No, he's probably there, just behind that K-Not-So-What Elements in the Giant.
That's fair. But being done with this mountain, has access to all of those spells on Tella. That's really the big important piece of this. So Tella now able to cast Virus, able to cast all the level 3 spells, able to cast Cure 4, able to cast not just Blink, but also things like Size. Has just a ton of utility as the ultimate utility mage until you find Fusoya, if he shows up. So getting all those spells on Tella, that is a really important thing for Locke. Also knowing that this gauntlet is here, that gives him that nice source of AoE that he just otherwise doesn't have.
Now it's going to be interesting to see if he leverages that curse ring pickup to make sure that Tella can just blow through this at rapid speed. But it looks like he is just charging in, gonna maybe use a couple of those J items that he has in his inventory to speed up this process.
Yeah, I don't hate that, especially on the first 2 fights. Those are the annoying ones because they have the crocodiles, which cheat the ATB system, much like the Evil Wall does. The second fight in particular, with the 3 fang shells, the crocodile and the alligator, that one is nasty because if you're under-leveled, they can do meaningful damage with their physical attacks.
Definitely. There is an NPC in Barren Town that tells you to not underestimate the Barren Inn bosses. For decent enough reason. These aren't, while they're earlier game than some other things like the Moon, they are still the probably most difficult overworld spot coming last in the vanilla progression. The enemies in the gauntlet, the bosses, especially in the second spot, can be a little punchy.
Yeah, and that second spot may also be one of the reasons why Locke is not choosing to anchor in order to get through this first fight as quickly, is because that second fight being so darn slow. The agility there is somewhere between, I believe you were saying 4 to 6.
4 to 7.
4 to 7. It's just dreadfully slow. So you don't necessarily want to be with a super slow anchor going into that spot because you'll actually speed the boss up. So it's really interesting how, agility works in this game, but Locke doing a good job of managing it so far.
Definitely.
And looks like Poorlydrawnbees also has completed Mount Ordeals. We still have not gotten any sights on D-Mist, nor Odin, nor Kainatsu. We have half of the Forge, but pretty dry overworld as far as objectives are concerned for our runners. So they are very likely going to be funneled down this hook route unless we get some sort of progression from this Barren Inn, which is guarded by a Dark Imp as well. Or Dark Elf, excuse me.
Yeah, not the worst fight to see here. You can abuse the lack of boss bit in the second half of it, stop him from punching your team a whole bunch. Literally stop. But first phase will be a nice, comfortable couple thousand damage to deal, especially with those white arrows on Edward doing work.
Yeah, absolutely. White Arrow and White Spear, both doing a lot of work here. Going to Berserk on Eddie here. And just going to go to town with those White Arrows and that White Spear. This fight will be over real fast. And Kane says, we're done here. We have better places to be.
We want to go to the hook route. We don't want to be in this inn anymore. But do we want the Protect Ring reward that we get from this? It's a fantastic piece of gear, but not quite the key progression that you're looking for.
Yeah, as far as, again, overworld checks are concerned, or overworld, rewards, we're looking at a lot of terminal items showing up. Other than the hook, the package is a dead end. The sand ruby is a dead end. The adamant rock is a dead end. everything leads straight through the hook. So that's both a good and a bad thing. For runners, you might often think, well, if I did XYZ type thing in this race, my opponent might have done ABC. Am I behind? Am I ahead? Now it's simply a battle of execution. Do you feel that you have out executed your opposition to this point? It's oftentimes a much more comfortable feeling to be funneled rather than have the entire world open.
Although Locke is making a play here, he has not done the Fabul defense check and received that sand ruby from it, opting instead to just dive down this hook route.
Yeah, which is a very aggressive move to try to do the Rivers McCown special of the single dip Fabul, especially with a sparkle at the hook route. If that's, let's say, an Ogo Pogo, and goodness forbid there might be a Magma Key at Fabul, it would be a significant feels bad moment. Now we know that's not the case, but that is a very aggressive and potentially risky play from Locke. But this is an elimination match, and Locke knows that barring a tie, this is win or go home. So you got to do something out of the ordinary, most likely, to get in. And looks like Poorlydrawnbees is on to, I believe, the 5th of the fights here in the Alt Gauntlet. The Aqua Worm, having way too much health for where it is in the game, will not die to a virus or any small AoE here like the fish will. And meanwhile, Locke opens a random chest, finds a random Zeus Gauntlet, and then comes across the Mad Ogres, which he will likely be taking.
Yeah, get that nice infusion of XP and use the Ogre Axe and Poison Axe that you picked up throughout your looting travels to really just tear through this. Get that XP infusion, especially for the Banana Cane that we picked up from there. Get him online, get some levels, and then chew through this hook route.
Is Banana Cane best cane?
Personally, I believe so.
I would tend to agree with that. Banana Cane is one of my favorite sprites out there. Or favorite palettes, excuse me.
Yeah, there are so many fantastic palettes for Cane, but personal favorite has to be Banana Cane. It's just so banana.
And looks like Locke is doing something here, again with the life glitching. So the way that this works is all enemies in Final Fantasy IV have a vitality stat of 0. So what happens when you try to use a life potion or a life spell on them is it attempts to bring them back to life. But if you have 0 vitality, that means you come back with 0 health and you just instantly die again. So what is happening here is Locke is basically getting 2 enemies for the price of 1 for every single life potion he uses. This can be extremely helpful in cases like this with Mad Ogres, and also picks up a very valuable sword, a defense sword from those Mad Ogres. So now we have White Spear Cane and Defense Sword Cane. That is enough firepower to fairly reliably get through a tough hook route.
Definitely. We were talking earlier that, this isn't quite the dream team for approaching a Sparkle hook route. The White Spear Defense Sword will help alleviate some of that burden. It's a lot of power for these 2 canes with their with their 2 best weapons, outside of maybe a Dragoon Spear.
Yeah, I would argue that Avenger would be better just simply because it is so broken, where it's auto berserk, plus 10 strength, plus 10 vitality. But as far as the weapons that are normally considered top tier for Kane, we basically have 2 of the top 3 or maybe 4, as you alluded to. So that's a very good find for Locke. And looks like Poorlydrawnbees going back to the Eblin Castle well, and going to dip in here for either more XP, more trap chests to get better items, or just more looting. It remains to be seen what Poorlydrawnbees' goal is here with this second Eblin Castle dip.
I'm leaning towards probably a mix of all 3. She doesn't know about the defense sword in that hook or in the Mad Ogre chest, and she needs something for that second cane to be swinging. Plus, get a couple levels of XP on him. He didn't get all of that juicy gauntlet XP. He's base level. He's kind of wimpy. See if you can spike something for him to use, for him to wear, to help or speed up the hook dive.
Absolutely. Those arty arrows are really nice. Won't help with this hook dive per se, unless it's Pale Dim. But speaking of things that are not wimpy, Dark Imps at the King Queen Evelyn spot. They're fast, they're punchy. Thank goodness Kane is absolutely decked out with armor. He's also fast, so he can absorb these hits and get coffins out, basically soloing Dark Imps at King Queen Evelyn. That's a pretty clutch job.
Locke.
Yeah.
I believe that Kane is the one wearing the Zeus Gauntlet, the Dragoon Helm, and the Samurai Shield, combined with the fact that he's in the back row, makes for one very beefy boy.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to get a safety save from Locke. I definitely like this, because if this is in particular Ogopogo, that is an unpleasant experience. If it's Plague, far less unpleasant. If it's Pale Dim, also less unpleasant, but still going to be super punchy. But the Ogopogo is the particularly nasty one. So I think this is a very good save from Locke.
Definitely. I'm also personally rooting for Wyvern, so we have a secret Demist at perhaps the package or the Magus Sister spot. But unfortunately, we do just have that Pale Dim that you alluded to.
And unfortunately, one of the interesting things about this Pale Dim, though, those Artemis arrows that Poorlydrawnbees picked up, depending how quickly she gets down this hook route, may have a far easier time getting through this. Not that it'll be super difficult for Locke, it's just going to take a lot of time, but Artemis arrows dealing quadruple damage to dragons, will just chew through this Pale Dim. So Pale Dim likes to use slow to counter every attack, but if you're only doing, let's say, maybe 4 or 5 attacks because you have Sid with a bow and some arty arrows, Pale Dim goes pretty quickly.
Yeah, I believe Bees also has an archer or samurai bow from their loot path, which will just expedite with even more power. You slap on the Zeus Gauntlet or Strength Ring that you might pick up. You have that, Sid will be doing 4 digits consistently to just tear through this fight. Plus, she picked up a Dragoon Helm in just an untrapped chest in Evelyn. The extra defense from that, since Pale Dim is a dragon, will just keep Sid completely safe from all harm as he tears Pale Dim to shreds.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And we see those, and a dragon whip as well, if there were Iridia. So lots of dragon slaying gear. I know that the runners wish there were a Dragoon Spear somewhere. But this is still a lot of good gear and the right team to handle this Pale Dim. All those blink casters with the Tellas, the Porum, able to do what they need to do. And there's a samurai bow also in that Eblin shop. I had missed that the first time. Poorlydrawnbees did not miss that, picks it up. So as you alluded to, samurai bow arty arrow will go burr against Pale Dim.
Oh yeah.
All right, looks like Poorlydrawnbees making her way down the hook path, and Locke going through, still challenging this Pale Dim, making sure to stay safe, keeping the blinks up. Don't really want anyone to get just randomly knocked off in this fight. It's not a pleasant experience to drop down to 1 or 2 characters. The boss just starts getting so many turns in, especially when you're jumping with Kane. Because Kane does get removed effectively from the queue, and it becomes harder to jam it and keep the boss from taking extra turns.
Yeah, all of the delay on these jumps, while increasing the damage and increasing the accuracy and preventing those slow counters, can take a little bit of time if you do dwindle in the amount of living party members. Keeping those blinks up, using Tella and Porum both to keep them going, is definitely going to help a lot.
Yeah, it looks like both of the white mages here on full blink duty, making sure that nobody is having any issues staying alive, absorbing hits, Edward doing what he can by hiding to make sure he doesn't get hit either. Poorly Drawn Bees showing off that there are more ways than just poison axes or rune axes to deal with mad ogres, that you can coffin them as well, as they are not immune to the instant death or fatal type spell.
Yep, and also heads up, possibly, I want to see perhaps a couple double life glitches coming out here. Missing it on that one. But with the Mad Ogres not being stopped, them taking the actions to punch your party over and over can help buffer the queue and let you throw multiple life potions on just one coffin target, possibly giving you a whole bunch of extra XP in this fight.
Absolutely. With a single life glitch on each of the available ogres, you'll get roughly around 16,500 XP. However, if you get double life glitches, you can up that to somewhere in the 22 to 23,000 range. Meanwhile, though, Poorly Drawn Bees grinding on these ogres a bit, Locke is going to be our first runner underground, clearing this Pale Dim just shy of 37 minutes. Very well done by Locke, given the party composition. Got the right weapons he needed and is through. But what do you
well executed to get through that fight.
Yeah, very much so. What do you think? Is he going to be able to avoid this pitfall? Maybe cast Float with Tella?
No, he missed it. Didn't get it in time. The 15-minute delay probably could have.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's really tough to time it right with that delay.
Yeah, I'd have had to do it when he was probably in the alt gauntlet, because that thing takes so long.
That's a good point. And looks like the boss at the top of tower will remain unknown for right now. Locke not peeking it, is doing a little bit of looting, finds a black shirt, finds a coffin, but no top of tower peek there. Something that I would want to have done myself with two bosses defeat Odin and defeat Kainatsu's objectives. I would have wanted that information.
Yeah, I'd tend to agree on that front. It could be that he's prioritizing the Dwarf Castle and Feymarch check, since that is 4 bosses, and he's just going to leave that top of tower one as a surprise for later, maybe when he does a keyless tower dive, maybe when he finds the tower key.
That's definitely a good point, that that Dwarf Castle check in particular is a high value check right now, because it has another character. There is an Excalibur available, and there's always Fusoya available, or usually in most of these seeds. So this is the type of thing where Locke may just say, I want a Cecil or I want a Fusoya. Let me check all the available character slots and see if I can get one of those. And well,
doesn't find a character yet, but does find that elusive D.Mist hanging out in Dwarf Castle 1.
Yeah, that D-Mist represents now a double check here in Dwarf Castle. Going to be a little awkward for his party, because one of his canes is rocking a white spear, and D-Mist just kind of laughs at holy weapons, but the one that has the defense sword on will do good damage here.
Oh, definitely. I'd also maybe want to see Tella contributing a little bit with some viruses, chip in, do a couple thousand damage, if he isn't cursed, which I think he might be.
Yeah, I think that's one of the situations as well where Tella's utility may outweigh his anchoring availability here, but he also may not have the curse ring on, because it looks like he's able to pretty reliably get all his spells off right now. I know he is in the center slot though, so that may be kind of clouding things.
And I believe Locke also picked up a life staff, which may be on Tella currently, maybe on Poor instead. I'm not sure who he's equipped that onto.
That's a good point as well. That life staff will counteract the penalty from the cursed ring, making sure that Tell is able to land everything without any issues. But meanwhile, while Locke is fighting a fake dragon, Poorly Drawn Bees is fighting a real dragon and has made her way into that Pale Dim fight. Got through those Dark Imps with basically no issues. Was very clean through them, very quick through them.
Yeah, toss the hourglass, cancel out all of their turns, slowly chip away with a Berserk Cane, get through pretty quickly. And he's instead opting for the Berserk strategy against the Pale Dim, whereas Locke was jumping a whole bunch.
Yeah, the Berserk strat versus the jump strat, it's tough to say which one's faster in this situation. They're probably very similar, actually, because while you're taking the slow counters for Berserk, the jumping does deal more damage and avoids that. So it'd be interesting to time it, but I think either strategy is completely viable here.
Definitely.
And looks like Locke should be through this Demus fairly shortly. There it is, the last
There's
hit.
the jump.
Demus down, and the important moment from this Dwarf Castle, beyond just the key item check and beyond this Demus in the first spot, the big question is, who is that character going to be?
I'm rooting for second Edward.
Well, yeah, more Edward would be great, or second Porum, or how about a Palom?
Palom isn't a bad option. We've picked up a black shirt, a couple charm rods, the rune rings from the starter kit. He'll be a solid black mage, and he can get a whole hefty bunch of XP from the second Dwarf Castle fight to get him online.
Yeah, definitely going to be a big deal to get that Palom online. Unfortunately,
Octomam has other plans.
Yeah, Palom decided that he wanted to take a nap, or Octomam decided to be a good mother. Is that how Octomam does it? I don't know. And put the kid to bed. Yeah, exactly. But looks like now both of our runners are Eddie-less, so no Edwards in sight. Hopefully for our runners, they don't find, let's say, a spoon in the Vaymarch free chest, because that would be a sad sight to not have Spoonword available.
Yeah, the Vaymarch free chest, this Dwarf Castle check, the Demus turn in Sheila 1. There's a lot of very quick checks that are going to be coming up shortly. And if any of them are a spoon, I believe both runners would be feeling a little bit sad.
Yeah, definitely the damage output you would get from a Spoonword, that would be far superior to what the Canes are able to put out, even with a defense sword, even with a white spear. There's a full moon. That is not the value that our runners were looking for out of Dwarf Castle, but did pick up at least the Palom and did pick up the Demus check.
Yeah, while the tangible benefits of that full moon aren't the greatest, we do have all the XP, the characters, and the knowledge that you no longer have to go Demus hunting.
That's definitely true. Starveils and Soma drops. That Soma drop is an interesting find, should Locke want Tella to have 100 MP for Meteo. And it looks like we are still Sirenless, though, as Poorlydrawnbees also getting through the hook route is done with Pale Dim, and I missed it. What was the job, Dwarf?
Electromechanical something engineer? I missed the middle word.
And yeah, electromechanical engineer of some sort's good enough for me. That's too smart for my blood, so
it's a lot of big syllable words.
Yeah, I'll let you have that one. And looks like Locke is going to let himself have a Vaymarch. And electromechanical equipment assembler, according to chat. So thank you very much, Engie Dave, for that.
Thanks to Y2 Sky with our timing here. Runners a couple minutes apart getting to the underground. Bees up that Fabul check and a little bit of XP with the extra Evelyn looting. It's going to be interesting to see how she can leverage the items and the XP that she got from those checks.
Yeah, especially if there's no sirens, that extra XP is a big deal. And I heard you like checks underground. How about a pan so that you can just not ever have to come back to most of this?
Yeah, why not? That's going to be a very welcome sight for Locke, knowing that he can turn in the pan and only go to Fabul once, completing that river special that you mentioned earlier.
Yep, getting to live that dream and will not at all be punished for it, as the Sand Ruby came from Fabul, and it was again just a Cid. A nice character, but not a top tier endgame, bully, if you will, to just beat down bosses.
Definitely. But it looks like we continue our Sirenless spree. Vaymarch only having the premium Bacchus vintage. Not fantastic for this Zerker party, even though we have a couple sources of Berserk, but not quite the XP that you're looking for.
Yeah, so that means we are either Sirens on the Moon or no Sirens. No Sirens is always interesting because it has a runner's game knowledge of where and how to grind. Sirens make things a whole lot easier for the runners, but we don't always want that. And speaking of things that might not be easy, we have a Sparkle, and I believe that's Ruby at the Asura spot.
Yep, seeing elements in
Ooh,
Antline. Ooh, that's not the sparkle you want to see at the Leviathan spot.
that is the Canadian Nope Noodle, Ogo Pogo, hanging out at the Leviathan spot. Now, I'm personally cheering for Darkness to be there because I'm rude. But how about you, Pancraz?
I mean, I don't necessarily want to see darkness there, but I do want to see it required because that's a fantastic fight. It's a terrible fight, and I personally don't like fighting it when I'm playing Seeds. But for a viewing experience, seeing the runners have to get through that, show off their skills to leverage the blinks and the damage and everything, I do want to see that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's fun to watch great runners like we have, today with Locke and Poorlydrawnbees get to show off their skills. Things like that, this Demas, things like that Pale Dim, things like this Ogo Pogo potentially. Those are all the things that we really like to see from the great runners, is for them to be able to leverage those skills you talked about. But the pan from the Fey March deciding maybe we just get music and we don't have to deal with that.
Well, I won't complain about music. It's always nice to see what wonderful tunes that our randomized seed will give us.
Yeah, music is always fantastic. Again, lots of tunes from the wonderful Calamity on the harp. It's one of my favorite things. It just, again, to your point, Calamity does amazing things with that harp, and I hope we get to see it soon, if not immediately after the Sheila 1, Sheila 2, and Fagul defense checks from Locke.
And hopefully that Demas check, the turn in to talk to Rydia's mom. He did fly past it so far. Hopefully he goes back.
That's a good point, because much like it may have happened with Locke, if he did in fact forget it, I forgot it.
Oh? Well, who hasn't forgotten it is Bees getting through that Demas at the Dwarf one, about to find out about the Octoman and the Palom that is in here.
Yeah, getting through that fairly quickly. Again, nice work from both runners. Getting that Palom and deciding Tella is out.
Okay.
And Palom is in, so trading one black mage for another.
I'm possibly planning to use Sid as the endgame anchor over time, then trade out to get just a pure black magic focused character.
Yeah, and that focus is a good thing to have. It can be a little risky at times to not have the utility, but with a Porum for Blinks, with a Palom now for Quake, 2 Canes to go Zerking, and probably a Sid anchor in the end, that's a good bit of variety for this party.
Definitely. There's definitely some slightly better parties that you might want in the end game, but this one is a perfectly acceptable and pretty strong one, especially with the weaponry that we found so far.
Yeah, there are definitely stronger parties, but I've also definitely experienced far weaker parties having to go to Zeromus, to the moon, etc. So it's one of those things where sometimes you have to settle for average or above average, and that's okay. You can still get through, especially for runners of this caliber.
Definitely.
And so it looks like Locke going to get his Sand Ruby. Poorlydrawnbees watching the red hand make its way off with the crystal, and going to get the reward, or whatever the full moon is to the runners. Maybe a reward, maybe not quite so much. But meanwhile, Locke is going to be giving us some new information. As Sheila wonders, why is my husband stuck underground? She decides to give a Stardust Rod. That's not the progression, but the pink tail is an objective, so
the progression you're looking for.
So the pan giving both the Twin Harp and the pink tail. There you go.
Check your Fey March freebie, I guess. You walk past that chest at your own peril.
Yeah, do not fade Fey March freebie today. You will have a bad time. And looks like Locke has not forgotten about Demist, or we hope anyway. is checking the Sand Ruby character. So Locke, Demist, stage left, please go. Don't forget like I did.
It's just, a couple extra steps. It's not far. It's faster than getting back in the airship. Sees the Cid at the Sand Ruby, breathes a sigh of relief, probably, that it's not a Cecil, that it's not a Foo, and that he could have just blown through that hook route even faster. And
Does remember.
He is going to the Demist check.
Good, good, good. So Poorlydrawnbees making her way down through the Feymarch, not looting any of the chests down here, not terribly surprised given the looting she did in Eblin. However, just a pass from Rydia's mom, aka the Demist turn-in. So not progression, not required, but is a shortcut. Yeah, definitely a good thing to remember.
It's always nice having a pass in hand, partly because it can change up your routing a little bit. Maybe you're tempted to dive to the moon, maybe you're not. And maybe you don't even have to go to the moon now. These runners might stay Earth to try and leverage that pass and complete as many objectives as they can, especially with 2 of them already in hand for Locke here.
Yeah, definitely a good point that this Twin Harp check coming up, that Pinktail turn-in to be done. These are 2 objectives that will be coming in short order. And for these runners, again, runners of this caliber, no objectives done, and we're approaching an hour in. That starts to get a little nervy for the runners, wondering, where are my objectives? Where are my progressing key items? It starts to weigh on you a little bit, wondering, oh boy, did my opponent find a cheeky Demist somewhere? Did they do a tower, keyless tower and get paid off it? It's always one of those things that starts to weigh on your mind is, where's my progression?
Yeah, definitely. Starting to weigh a little bit here because a lot of things we're finding have been terminal items. This Twin Harp could lead to something, could be nothing. And the odds of those 2 Feymarch bosses that we see on Bees' screen, odds of them having some sort of progression are rising.
Yeah, especially considering what we know now is that the Pan turn-in does give you that Twin Harp. It does ultimately give you that Pinktail. Demist giving that pass means that we're down to basically Twin Harp, Keyless Tower, and Feymarch. If I'm not mistaken, that's all we have left.
I believe that is correct. We are quickly running out of stuff to check.
But I think it's time that we run out of words to say, because I believe that DJ Spoony B is about to play us some of his funky tunes. So I think. Okay. Well, we can talk through this. That is also another thing that is, frowned upon, but I think we can do it, right? Maybe once.
Maybe if we discuss the musicality of the song.
Ooh, I like it. All right. I guess there's music. We'll shush.
All right, and some fantastic Color of the Summer Sky from Secret of Mana. And you asked earlier what songs I want to hear. That is a fantastic one to hear.
But what reward would you like from the Twin Harp?
Not that Murasame.
So then there were three. Keyless Tower, Ogo Pogo, or whatever the slightly less rude thing was at the Asura spot that I've already forgotten about because apparently I have a
Rubik's.
potato for a brain.
It is our friendly neighborhood leg at the Asura spot.
Ah, Ruby. That's not terribly friendly there, to be totally honest.
No,
But
some decent magic power.
yeah, with the ice weaponry that our runners have, I don't think it'll be too bad. But looks like Locke heading back underground, Poorlydrawnbees, leaving Fabul with all of Sheila's goods, taking that pink tail, and probably headed to either turn that pink tail in or complete music, and will be shortly joining Locke with objective number 1 complete.
No, both runners looking for some progression in the seed. One thing we haven't quite talked about. We've seen Water Hag. We've seen both guards. We've seen King Queen Evelyn now. We've seen Karate. We've seen Dark Imps. There are a lot of free fights out of the pool.
There are, but there's also a lot of really rude ones out of the pool. I know that Ogo Pogo might still be required, but Evil Wall's gone, Bygon's gone. Some of the nastier ones are out. So it's not the end of the world. We're probably staring directly at old Googly Eyes himself on the moon somewhere, because Antlion is always up on the moon.
Always.
But yeah, like the easy end and the hard end seem to be kind of out. There's another one that's
out. That is one of the harder ones, but it is also our objective 5. Neither runner peeking this on the way down the hook route. Well, here he is.
Now, one of the interesting things about this is it's not going to hit very hard as far as physically. But if you don't do a ton of damage, those waves are HP based, 4 to 6%, and this spot has north of 20,000 health. That's going to be a lot of damage coming in. So this is a bit of a DPS race. Again, those ice weapons will help here, but this is a fight you have to be careful on.
We have some solid cane weapons, and Locke did pick up those Bacchus wines in the Fey March, I believe. Yep, using one right there. To great effect, but hopefully he can dish out enough damage to start dealing with this Kinatsu.
Yeah, it looks like he is going full Zerker route. One Bacchus on that cane, one Berserk on other cane, or not other cane, excuse me, banana cane. We can't call him other cane, that's just disrespectful. Coming in with about 2,700 damage done so far. The wave is coming out. Uh-oh, I'm nervous.
Whew, 700, but Porum taking 653, surviving with 20 HP.
Yeah, Porum living the dream.
Having her alive, being able to throw out a couple Cure 2s, since she doesn't know Cure 3 yet, will help stabilize this fight, especially with the 2,000 to 3,000 damage that these two canes are pumping out every round.
Yeah, and I think that as much as I'd love to keep talking through music, this Kainatsu fight now seems pretty well in hand, so I think we can give the viewers a little bit of a reprisal here.
I'd agree.
And looks like Poorlydrawnbees is through music. Meanwhile, Locke, expertly making his way through that Kainatsu, was rewarded with the Earth Crystal. That Earth Crystal represents two fun things. One, potentially raiding that treasury. And two, potentially some of those top tier characters we've been talking about that just quite haven't shown up yet.
No, but also the secret third, perhaps, bonus point of the Earth Tower. It is 2 boss checks. 2 chances at discovering that Odin and 2 chances of being put into go mode here.
That is very true. And looks like Locke deciding against turning in the pigtail still. Chances are it's not anything that's going to super help him at this point, unless it's pretty much exactly the Avenger, given his party composition. Maybe a Dragoon Spear, but he has a White Spear and a Defense Sword. He also says, we are not raiding that treasury today. We're an hour into this thing. We don't need no stinking items.
I don't necessarily blame him, but aw.
But is going to put the Ice Brand on, which tells me we are going hunting for a Flame Doggo.
Where is that dog? Doesn't. Looks like Bee's going back up that, or going up that Keyless Tower play, going to find her Kainatsu as well, while Locke hunts for this doggy. We'll find Objective 5, we'll find this Earth Crystal, and I can't imagine that she's not going to be too far behind Locke.
Yeah, Earth Crystal represents a really nice excuse to also not go play in the Feymarch.
Definitely.
I know that I would not be playing in the Feymarch. It would be a matter of, let me do anything else that's not that Feymarch until I absolutely have to. So I definitely agree with the runner's routing here.
Plus, with Earth Crystal in hand, 2 chances at a Fu or Cecil to really help expedite those 2 Feymarch fights. Come back with a stronger party with some more levels, and you can just tear it apart.
Yeah, in particular for that Ogo Pogo fight, if it's required at the Leviathan spot, that is just super mean, and having an Excal Zeus Gauntlet Cecil to get through that would just make it so much faster. Here's a Bahamut though. That's pretty darn free.
Yeah. 1 more of those freer fights out of the pool. Man,
So I
am
think
excited to see what's on the moon now.
Oh, definitely. There's basically nothing free left. There's a lot of rude stuff out, but there's nothing free left.
I think maybe Dark Knight Cecil, but is that really free?
I mean, put him at Value Cave, it's not free.
No, not quite.
But looks like Locke is through that Bahamut. Poorlydrawnbees making her way through that Kainatsu. So we will get some new information. And we have, well, it's a Punch Mage. I know you're a big fan.
Not at this point. We'll see. I like a Yang that I can build levels on and make him mighty, but with arcanes, with our mages, he isn't quite what I'd be looking for in this slot. Maybe the second character would deliver something a little bit more appealing.
And there
I'd
is.
say it's a little more appealing, yeah.
There's a Fusoya. Now wait, do we get the ultimate flex and say no to Fu? That's not happening. I can wish,
No,
but it's not
with that
happening.
Stardust Rod. I imagine Palom isn't long for this team. Oh, no, wait. Oh, no. Getting rid of Tempa instead.
Almost the accidental dismissal of Fusoya. I've done that myself, and it results in instant resets. So glad to see that didn't happen for Locke, because my heart. I was like, oh, Locke, no. But is going to have a fully kitted out Fu as well. All 1900 HP, every spell you can imagine. It's party time.
Definitely. I imagine we'll see our first cast of many, or first of many casts of Nuke against whatever boss will be right behind this cutscene.
Yeah, it's microwave percent net. Well,
Okay, maybe it's not microwave percent.
uh, it's going to be Golbez laughing until microwave percent happens. This is a particularly nasty spot for Golbez as well. It is one of the fastest spots on the overworld with, I believe, 18 agility, and the magic power is through the roof here. So if you don't get the Star Veils up on the right characters, or let's say even the Star Veil on this Kane, if Kane gets eaten by the snake, then Golbez can still just destroy the party.
Yeah, a lot of it is going to come down to who gets eaten here. First target, Fusoya, not who you want to see.
Oh
Second
no.
target, Starvale Kane. That's no.
Oh, this
Okay,
is.
one of the Kane is still standing, so we could be fast enough to get up a Starvale in time. This is going to be a little tricky though.
Yeah, this is a rough spot for Golbez to be in, and a rough spot for Locke to now be in because of that targeting. Can he win a 50-50? No, and this
First
is
one doesn't go his
bad
way.
news.
Oh, lit 3, no!
Yeah, that's nearly 6,000 damage lit 3. Golbez does not play here.
It was not.
And yeah. So meanwhile, Poorlydrawnbees is through Kainatsu. Locke going to give this another run through, but unfortunately has to do this Bahamut fight again. So going to give back a little bit of time to Poorlydrawnbees. To recap, for all of our friends coming over from Randomania 3, we have this wonderful elimination race between Locke and Poorlydrawnbees. We have Locke with a little bit of a lead, but really now only the walk up the Tower of Zot. Our runners are basically even other than that. Pinktail is in hand to turn in, so we are effectively a Legend Sword away from Go Mode or an Odin away from Go Mode. Both runners made it underground through a pale dim with available party members of Kane, Tella, Porum, and Edward. So, and a Sid, excuse me. Not exactly an all-star team, but finally finding this Fu up on the Tower of Zot to provide some much-needed relief and give them one of the all-star tier characters of the flag set.
Yeah, with the gear we've been finding, one of the 3 lifelines, we have an X-Cal, we have a Ninja Sword, we have a Murasame, and we have a Stardust Rod. Fusoya, Edge, Cecil, all would be absolutely fantastic additions to this team. And we found the Fu, maybe we can luck into one of the other 2 on that list shortly. Maybe we will just maintain this party out through the end of the seed.
Yeah, and the other awkward part about this is our last remaining check before a possibly required Fey March. And the Fey March currently is Ogopogo at Leviathan and Ruby at Asura, neither one of which are very pleasant fights. Fusoya will definitely help with that Ruby. Fusoya is not as helpful with that Ogo, with the one exception to me of Cure 4. That is a huge deal.
His MP pool, being able to keep up the HP pool, or keep up everybody's HP with the Cure 4s, with maybe single target Cure 3s if need be, with casting Blinks over and over again, and with being able to be more likely to be RA1 than Tella would be, will definitely help get through that Ogopogo should things come down to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ogo is going to be manageable, but unpleasant if that has to happen. Looks like we had some brief technical difficulties there for Poorlydrawnbees, but that has since been rectified, and we are getting some piggy strats from Locke. This is really heads up. This is making sure that he is going to be able to get a Starvel off to take care of this Golbez. The pig status definitely going to be helpful here. Pancras, you know more about this than I do. Care to explain for our viewers why this piggy status is so important?
I can explain a little bit. Essentially, FF4 has a sort of status hierarchy between how different statuses or negative statuses or positive statuses can be applied to your characters. Fairly low on that list, or low priority, is the hold that Golbez uses here. So if you are afflicted with a higher priority status, the lower priority ones won't take effect. This can be why your piggied and toaded and poisoned characters won't be berserked, but it's also why a piggied character cannot be held by Golbez here. inflicting the piggy to the party, make sure that they don't get held. They get their turn while Golbez is going through the script and can get off that Star Veil like Locke did with his Porum.
Yeah, and so just like that, great explanation, by the way. That Star Veil up on Porum, that Kane, even though he's paralyzed, will come back too. He'll be able to maybe get a Star Veil up himself, or, Golbez will just say, no, that's not happening.
And Golbez not going for the Star Veils.
Golbez is all about that 360 no-scope life and has just decided that this is going to be Porum or bust. And so Locke is trying to get other party members up here.
4 for 4.
Golbez, please.
This is an experience. Yeah, and Golbez. So rude.
So this is one of those situations where once enough damage is dealt, you just have to basically hit Golbez at all. So just tap him and he'll fall over. Eventually he can deal enough damage to himself to off himself, but you run the risk of a Star Veil wearing off. Now, one thing we see on Poorlydrawnbees' side, Porum survives the initial hold, which means Porum is not going to be able to be inflicted with that hold, will get through this with a Star Veil should she not get eaten. Meanwhile, that Star Veil did run out on Locke, and that is just not what you want to see.
He did save between or after the Bahamut fight this time in case things went awry once more. So will not be too much of a time loss, but that is kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's one where just knowing that all you need to do is just tap that Golbez with any physical hit or any direct magic attack will take him out. So it's really sad that that Locke didn't get that through to make that Golbez just run away. Meanwhile, Poorlydrawnbees is able to run buffer a Star Veil up on that Fusoya. Also got one up on Kane. So Poorlydrawnbees, even though they got here significantly after Locke, has made up a ton of time on this tower. So very well done to Poorlydrawnbees to effectively regain the lead here.
Yeah, pretty fortuitous. I think she turned her battle speed down a little bit for the K-Natsu as well, and keeping it down there for this Golbez fight definitely helped her get several Star Veils off before he even started his script. So one of the Canes that got the Star Veil off survived the initial barrage of being eaten, already had it up for when the spell started flying.
Yeah, definitely a good stroke of luck, but also, good recognition by Bees that you just got to get those Veils up, do a little damage, and gets rewarded with a Baron key. So the chase continues because I can't imagine you're going to want to go to that Fey March anytime soon. And additionally, conveniently, you leave the Tower of Zot and you land right outside of Baron.
Yeah, I know that I always love receiving a Baron key from Zot just for this express perp, or this exact perp. I can't think of words. For this exact reason. You land here, you can get that very nice efficient routing, stop in here, maybe get another character check if the Zot characters didn't quite pan out, and not to mention this is 2 more boss checks that we didn't previously know about.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The Baron Basement and the Baron Throne. We know who the starting boss was, and by we, I mean I hope you, because I've forgotten it, because again, potato brain. But
I want to say CPU, but I'm not sure.
That works for me. The bosses, if Odin is here, that's go mode. If Legend Sword is here, that's go mode. So there's a lot of reasons to go through and do this Baron check. Meanwhile, Locke is through Golbez as well, and looks like Antlion is the starting boss, which that means Antlion is not on the moon, and that's weird because I swear Antlion's always on vacation on the moon, just staring at you with those googly eyes, ready to punch away.
Well, I don't imagine he's going to get too many punches with these double jumps and Quake coming out for Bees. We'll make very quick work of this fight.
Or is it very Quake work of this fight?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty quick work. Although it's, jump will finish it off, though, so I don't have any good jump puns off the top of my head, but
Well, Kane's just here to uplift us all. That is not the Odin we are looking for. I mean, it's the Odin sprite, but then it turned into Levi and made the runner sad.
yeah, the wrong summon boss to find on this throne, perhaps. But still a key item check, still a character check, and still maybe the progression to avoid going back down to that Fey March.
Yeah, again, literally any excuse not to go there is what the runners have been looking for. And again,
They've been
don't
finding a
blame them
couple.
one bit. I think we've gone, Pan, Twin Harp, Keyless Tower, Earth Crystal, Baron, just avoiding Feymarch like the plague. And even if it turns out that Feymarch is where the value is, I don't even know that you feel terribly behind if you last location it, because I think most folks are going to last location that Feymarch.
No, but like we've been mentioning, this is an elimination race. Maybe you have that voice in the back of your head just saying, oh, do the Fey March, do the Fey March. It's a gamble your opponent won't do. Go for it. Go for it. Over and over, on repeat.
That's true. It could be, hey, take this Ogo. It'll be fun. And speaking of, I
That's
guess
not quite
Rudy
the
is
fun.
fun, but not the character we were looking for. The quest for Cecil continues.
Let's see here. If I'm calculating correctly, the characters we have not seen yet are Cecil, Rosa, and Edge. Only one more of them, or one of those three, will be in the seed.
Yeah.
We do still have one lingering dupe. Only character checks left are the Moon character and the Giant character, and I don't foresee either runner going to the Giant for the character check.
Well, if it comes down that No, I don't have a good reason. I was trying to think of a way to finagle in a Giant check here, but it's not happening.
Maybe a gamble for an Odin, or maybe to let out the frustrations of getting yet another piece of Edge equipment from a key item check with that ninja shirt in the Baron pot.
Ninja shirt in the Baron pot, full moon at Dwarf Castle, a Murasame from the Twin Harp, and highly likely that Edge is not in the seed. So Dathis over here just trolling the runners. And I think this is a good time while Bees is running down here. We should give Dathis a shout out for this beautiful seed. We should give Pancras a shout out for his first time on comms. We should give Solaris a shout out for some great work pushing buttons. And a huge shout out as well to the runners. Give all of those great folks a follow. They deserve it.
And of course, two more shoutouts. One to my fabulous co-commentator, Possum Morpheus. I'm just repeating words, following your lead. And also a huge shoutouts to the admin team for putting on this fantastic event. This is our last restreamed Swiss race, but we have, with their help, put on so many races and so many restreams. We couldn't do it without all of them.
Yeah, definitely true. Thank you so much to the Restream team, Scala and everybody else. And just another kind of kick to the party here and to the runners, pun completely intended, by the way. Karate, another fight where Cecil would be super helpful to have.
I feel like with the Excal we've had in hand, Cecil would be super helpful to have for just about anything. But this is a particularly choice example of one where he would expedite things very much.
Yeah, because instead of dealing with nukes and kicks and punches and all of that nonsense, you just blink up Cecil, maybe not even have to, and just bop Karate after the second kick, and he would say, ouch, and the fight would end. And that would be that.
Swing a little weapon, get ouch tonight.
Very nice.
I try. But I don't foresee this Karate being much longer for this world. A couple nukes to the face, couple quakes to the face, couple cane swings, and there's the fade. Now, will this be
more importantly, is this the progression?
He says, "No, it's just another sword."
All right. So what's your bet on Pancraz? You looking at Ruby or you looking at Ogo? Because I've been looking at Ogo for the whole time.
Both. You know, I'm thinking Ruby will have progression. We'll have the darkness crystal. But Ogo will be our objective. Will be that legend sword or tower key or Luca key that gates our Odin.
See, I think I just want darkness at Ogo and Ruby to be
also really good.
and I want Ruby to be a long sword.
Oh, another piece of edge equipment to round it out.
And not just any piece, but the worst possible piece of edge equipment to show up in the key item pool. And that is true, Death is pointing out. Poorlydrawnbees did want a refund as soon as the seed was rolled. Or maybe even before.
I believe before in the race room. Or maybe, no, first it was about 30 seconds after. B is heading down to that Fame Arch, I wonder which one she's going to tackle first.
I think you go after Ruby first because our runners both have ice weaponry, I believe.
Yeah.
And jumping with an ice brand, jumping with a blizzard spear, nuking with Fusoya, maybe even trying to time an ice 3. Ruby is going to be far more manageable and far easier to recover from if something goes wrong as well.
Definitely.
The scary part about Ogo is not that it's super hard in a nutshell. The idea is really easy. It's berserk up and just beat him down. Problem though is once it goes wrong, that fight is so hard to recover from.
Definitely.
And
as kitted as Arcanes are, Ice Brand should do substantial damage. I can't see it being more than a couple attacks, but Locke gets the very bad news that he has to go back to the Fame Arch.
But also another Excalibur. So at this point, if an edge is found, do you take an edge just so he can throw everything at Zeromus?
I'd consider it, even if he doesn't throw everything. Ninja Sword, Murasame, Ninja Blade that they both looted in Eblan Cave, rather.
True. And the full moon.
Yeah, back row him. I'd almost consider getting rid of one of the twins. I can't quite decide. I'm leaning towards Porum because we have Bacchus Wines, but hard pivot kind of to a Zerker party, especially without having any Sirens in the seed that we've seen so far. Picking up the edge to maybe steal a couple to get that grind on, if the runners aren't as experienced with low-level strategies or alternative grind options, can really help out.
Definitely a good point. That one of the awkward things as well with this is not only are Sirens not found, but the runners aren't even at 10 key items. They're stuck in this awkward spot of 9 key items and no Sirens. So even if you wanted to grind, there's not an efficient way to do it. And looks like we're getting, I believe, Zerker strats going on the Ice Brand Kane, and that is going to start to hurt pretty fast.
It does look like they are wearing some Dragoon armor, which will help mitigate some of that, but Dragoon armor won't quite stand up, I believe, to the test of the glare. Fortunately, lands on Porum at this one for 65-28 damage. Whew.
Yeah, that's what we call in the business a bad day.
Just one of those Mondays.
At what level does Porum have 6,500 health? Oh, that's right. Never.
If you have 65 gold apples.
Fair. There is an Ice 3. Poorlydrawnbees attempting to time it, but Ruby decided, I will close my cloak. And one of the awkward things about Ruby is the weakness to ice is only there when the cloak is open. So unfortunately, he absorbs the ice spell when the cloak is closed. So looks like Poorlydrawnbees is going the route of Nuke and Quake now after that unfortunate Ice 3, and Locke getting the bad news of his Cane getting dunked for 4,500 damage from a glare, and I believe that's with Dragoon stuff on. That is just brutal.
it looks like based on the speed of these punches, that Locke did go in here at battle speed 1, whereas Bees opted to lower it down a little bit, and I definitely would think that it's making things a lot smoother for her with how rough that this is. Although that 90-88 jump, that maybe 1 or 2 ticks of battle speed down could help a lot with this fight.
Yeah, I think as long as he's able to avoid a really nasty chain of fire counters, that Locke should be able to get through this even at battle speed 1. Although this double punch here, both going on Kane, Ruby knows.
I can't let the Ice Brand tickle him today. Gotta get rid of a threat, gotta single him out, even after he just got hit with the Berserk.
And Bees is through, and the winner is just a Dragoon Spear.
The Ogo Pogo!
I get my dream. Possum happy. Yep. Earn your progression, as our restreamer Tasha says.
I would agree with this. Is one of those fights that it's going to be a little tricky. And I 100% agree with Bees keeping the battle speed down a little bit from that Ruby fight to try and get through this. This is going to be fun.
So did you want to make brackets? How badly do you want to make brackets? Ogo Pogo at Leviathan bad?
No, as Chad is asking, there have been no sirens, no grind options, no edge to steal them, no Luca cave to do some doors, no sirens at all. If you want to grind, you don't get to grind.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is it's 9 key items. Even if you wanted to grind, you're still only getting 34,000 an egg. Or you go into Sylph Cave, you're getting like 25 to 30,000, per trap chest. It's just, ugh.
And that's about as much damage as these Ogo Pogo punches are doing to Bees' party. Does have some Bacchus wines in the inventory, which will help out a lot here. And Chad mentioning the Clapper grind, we did get that Dragoon Spear from Rubicon. Could pivot and go and do some of those.
That's not a grind that exists.
No.
And unfortunately, Locke did take a wipe there. Now, there is a very interesting kind of niche scenario where you could have a solo Kane take on this Ruby, where you have some Dragoon gear. You put a Cursed Ring on Kane. You Zerk him up, and as long as he's got enough physical defense to survive in the back row, then he would be able to absorb the glares, he'd absorb the fires, eventually get through. Not a very common technique, not something you really ever want to have to employ, but something that could work if Locke were to struggle with this fight. Though it looks like he is opting for just nukes now, instead of trying to time Ice 3s.
Yeah, and he's managed to get that Cure 3 off on top Kane. He is in the air with the Ice Brand equipped. I don't see Ruby being long for this world.
And here comes this double... Yeah, this nuke is good for Locke, and here's the double wave for Bees. Banana Cane has been peeled, and Poorlydrawnbees down to 3 characters. Even on this slower battle speed, this is showing how tough this fight is.
Yeah, Ogo at most spots is not a slouch. Ogo at Leviathan is one of the worst we can find him.
And the other awkward thing here is Fusoya's limited MP pool. As good as Fusoya is, the struggle simply is how do you sustain him? And there's Kane taking 31 damage over lethal. It's down to just 2 party members now. And this is as trying as it gets for our runners, as there is Kane going down. There's the
2150 on Fu. Whew.
In the back row.
In the back row with, I believe, a crystal or protect ring of some kind.
Yeah, that's a yikes. And looks like Locke is having an equally unpleasant time. This is just brutal. This is no sirens, and even if you had them, you're at 9 key items. This is not optimal party members. Like, Canes are good. Fu is good. Fu is still not a great party member for this exact fight. He has limited MP, and Nuke doesn't do a ton of good to Ogopogo.
No, not quite. I like what Locke is doing here, equipping that cursed ring on his Palom to bring him down, make sure everybody is very speedy. I don't believe Bees has she has the cursed ring, but I don't believe it's equipped currently.
That would make a big difference as well, absolutely.
Because unfortunately, Palom against Ogopogo isn't going to do all that much. It's a similar thing to the Fusoya issue, where you want to hit him with spells? No.
Yeah, the only way to really do it would be reflecting spells, but then you are working with the supposition that you're not getting punched to death before any of those spells get reflected, which at the Leviathan spot is particularly awkward because it hits basically for the hardest damage in the game, or tied with...
I believe it's tied with the K value and the CPU spot?
Yes, yeah, tied with those two, so this is no joke. This is frankly awful, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. Looks like Locke stabilizing a little bit, getting some blinks off, getting a Berserk out on the top cane. Bees on the other side. Healing up, using an illusion that she had in her inventory, getting some blinks out.
Yeah, it looks like on Locke's side, we have just enough of a big wave there to take out Banana Cane again, but that blinked cane going for 2,000 damage a swing, doing more consistent damage than we're getting out of B's side. So I think that Locke is actually in a slightly better spot here. Has those blinks up, and to your point, Pancraz, that cursed ring on Palom making a huge difference here.
Bees, I believe, has been parrying with Palom or throwing out curatives, which is helpful, but not quite as helpful, I'd argue, as having this perfect agility setup that Locke has going for him.
Yeah, but it looks like both runners stabilizing, making good progress on this now. Just a quarter wave for Bees, and Locke getting the double wave, which he is healed up, so no one's going to go down from this.
Yep, with blinks on all living party members, I believe both have stabilized and should be through this fight after a couple dozen more attacks.
A couple dozen more. It's awful.
Yeah, it's a lot of HP. 35,000, 36,000 to chew through here.
Yeah.
It can take a little bit of time.
There it is. Locke is our first through.
Now, will it be something to chase, or will it be your Darkness Crystal outright?
There's the answer. Darkness Crystal from Ogopogo at Leviathan.
Not words you want to hear if you are a runner running a seed.
But words that I said and I was wanting from about an hour ago, and I am happy to
we were rooting for this for a while. But Locke will be really interesting to see where Locke goes on the moon.
Well, this is one of those situations, though, where, again, with Ogopogo at Leviathan, yes, it took you a while to get to this point, but that fight stinks. So do you really feel behind knowing that you got through it on your second attempt? I don't know that you do.
No,
I wonder, do you see a bottom-up play? Do you see a top-down? It's tough to say here. Bees through, exactly 1 minute behind Locke. Like, this is still anybody's match.
Definitely.
And this has gone back and forth multiple times.
I think part of this is going to rely a lot on what objective do you want to complete. Do you want to hunt down the Legend Sword, or do you want to hunt down Odin?
Yeah,
and are there sirens on the moon? That's another good one.
Yeah, and who's the moon character? I mean, is it that Edge? Is it a Cecil? Is it,
is
another
it the Duke Edward we've been hoping for?
Looks like B's going to turn in that pink tail, whereas Locke has not. So this may indicate that B's is going to go face check mode, because if she hits Odin, that would put her in go mode already on the moon, and maybe just do a grind and go instead of having to come back down to Earth. And oh hey, remember that Avenger we talked about as being the only thing you'd want to see from the pink tail?
Well, the 1 in 8 pays off. There it is.
That's a feels bad.
That's a very feels bad. I feel bad. And it looks like we are sirenless in the seed. The Humming Way's not having the goods up there.
Yeah, so no sirens, Ogopogo at Leviathan, no Cecil, no Edge, no Rosa. Let's see who this moon character is. I am particularly curious because is this a dupe? It is the dupe Edward. Oh no. Daphis, who hurt you? We can help, I promise.
Well, with that, we are out of duplicate characters. Our final unique character is in the giant, whoever they are. Woo!
Oh, this is a seed that I'm glad I'm watching and not playing.
I 100% agree.
But looks like Locke is going to go bottom up on the moon. We will see what route Poorlydrawnbees takes. Poorlydrawnbees effectively up that objective number 3 from trading in that pink tail. That could come in handy because Poorlydrawnbees may not have to go back to the blue planet, where Locke, by not turning that pink tail in, has basically kind of guided himself into having to go back. Unless he finds exactly the Legend Sword plus Odin in the same spot, which I guess is possible. But even so, he's still got to go back for something now. So it'll be interesting to see how that routing plays out, if it benefits Poorlydrawnbees for doing that pink tail turn in first.
And if Odin is up here, it'll also depend on where he is on the moon. If he's on one of the bottom 3 altars, advantage Bees. She can save, she can swag walk, it'll be great. But if it's one of the top ones, it is still faster to exit out and go use that pass, which Locke will be able to do by going back to Earth to turn into pink tail.
Definitely true. And Locke did find a couple random sirens around and does have a Dragoon Spear.
He does not. Oh, wait, no, he does have the. Did he save after Rubicon?
Good question. Maybe has a Dragoon Spear.
That's a white spear that cane is swinging, so I don't think he has it.
But either way.
Yeah, doing 2,000 damage a hit, these dragons will go down pretty quickly.
Running low on life potions, though, down to just 2.
I'd almost want to see a life 1 cast out of Porum here instead. Try to preserve those just in case somebody goes down.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm a little concerned about the amount of resources, but looks like he's at least going to get the 180,000 XP out of this fight, which is a huge deal for this party before trying this moon and everything up here. I wonder if he takes a crack at the second one as well. Looks like he is going to.
Don't blame him one bit.
Yeah, 360,000 extra experience might put him ever so slightly behind on checks, because the runners may high five here. Bees may, as she is also going bottom up here, may pass him, but would then be down 300,000 XP. But again, I think the runners deserve everybody's love and appreciation here, putting on the show for us with this interesting seed.
That's a great way to put it.
So yeah, again, please make sure that you give our runners a follow, because they deserve it. This is a very difficult seed for Swiss flags, tough party composition, and tough bosses. Even with a Fusoya, this has still not been easy.
No, not at all. Massive shout outs to both of them for flexing their muscles, getting through those fights, and continuing through the seed, seeing what else it has in store.
And looks like we have Dr. Luque and Balnab. Now, this is kind of a problem for bees in a way, because Locke, we know, has just done 2 gold dragon fights and gotten 360,000 XP from them. Poorlydrawnbees did no grind. So this is a split XP boss, and that's not great for bees. That full XP, the full 200k, would really be what you're looking for here. So that's a little unfortunate for bees.
Definitely. I'm wondering if this is part of what prompted the runners to dive down to the bottom of the moon to try and get those high XP spots with the knowledge that there's no sirens. Use that as a grind, and if that is your play, this is not what you want to see.
Yeah, because this is going to split it. You're going to get well under that 200k. It won't be less than half. I think it'll be somewhere around like 70%, maybe 65%. But you're still only going to get about 120 maybe out of the 200k you were hoping for. But first, Balnab is down on B's side. Dr. Luque is down. Skips the Balnab Z portion of the fight, which is good, and is now into Dr. Luque proper. We'll see if a Berserk can get off before the poison. It does. And as you had alluded to earlier with the status priority that Final Fantasy IV functions on, even though poison is a higher priority than the Berserk is, because Berserk was on first, it will stay on. But if you try to Berserk someone who is poisoned, it won't work.
Well, there is one way around that, which is in Bees' inventory, the Avenger from that pink tail.
That is true. I mean, you can also use a bonk staff and actually power bonk through the poison, but who would ever do that?
Yeah. Niche tech, who uses that?
And looks like...
Ooh, that laser.
Yeah, laser don't play here. This laser is 25% of Dr. Lugue's current health. And this spot has 42,000 health, even split 4 ways. That's still going to give him about 12,000 at this last form. So laser's going to hurt.
Definitely. But looks like Bees weathers the lasers, gets through the Lugue fight. Let's see what these 2 ribbon room chests hold.
How about more edge
Another
stuff?
edge weapon. Oh, that's... Daphis. Please.
So yeah, those are things that were in a chest that just happened.
You know, Bees using the trash can here. I want to see all of those edge things go. Get rid of it. We don't want them. Stop taunting us like this.
Rage binning.
I believe it. I'd do it. I wouldn't blame the runners by any means.
There is Mylon Z. White Spear, gonna do a lot of damage here.
Definitely. And for Locke, having Cure 4 on his forearm from those gold dragon fights can also contribute with a little bit of damage from her, if he so chooses.
Very good point. Unfortunately, not enough MP for Fire 3 here from Fusoya. But I think...
to not tent after the ribbon room fight. But
Ooh.
quad 7s, nice and lucky on that cane roll.
Fortune favors the bold, I guess.
Or the jumpy.
1,300 damage punch on Poorlydrawnbees' side. There is a Fire 3 from that Palom. Almost 8k there, but 8k as well on the jump from Kane. So lots of big numbers coming out. Just illustrating pretty much how much of a pushover Mylon Z is.
Yeah, a lot of weaknesses to exploit. Fire, undead, air, since he's floating.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of damage very quickly.
And Locke, the first one through Mylon Z. So again, the runners just back and forth for this entire seed, to be honest, but especially these last few minutes. Wow, an assassin dagger.
Whew.
That's not even a reward.
In chat, yes, Mylon Z is indeed floating. As the Fiend of Earth, there needed a way to make him not get taken or hit by Quake, the Earth element attack. So easiest way, make him fly.
And looks like Locke headed down to the Ogopogo spot. Let us see what is here. And Poorly Drawn Bee is going to be just behind him, having tented up, and it's Asura. That is gross.
That is gross. No rune axes, no mute knives, no anti-mage gear, really at all. I don't think we've even seen an elven bow in the seed.
Have we even seen mute arrows?
That's a good question. Locke's Foo still not with MP, going to possibly slow this down a little bit. Although, did he just cast Berserk on? We do have a Silent Staff, actually.
Hmm.
He might have just cast Blink, and I'm, misreading things. Yep, it's Blink.
I was
But
gonna say aggro child alert.
yeah, not a pleasant fight to find here, even with mage killing gear. This is going to take a little bit of time for both runners.
Yeah, the good news though is both runners do have that wall up on Asura. A very important piece of tech to do, especially at a spot like this with so much health, where Asura is going to basically keep trying to heal herself over and over and over and over again. But with a wall up, there's not going to be any curing happening, except to your own party, which is particularly helpful in this situation.
That said, though, with Locke jumping on his canes over and over, there is a risk that the wall will wear off on Asura.
That's true. Without having the Zerkers in the queue, just constantly keeping everything jammed, it works much in the same way like a plague fight would, or anything where a wall needs to wear off. It needs to have an available tick to do so in the ATB system. So not having those Zerkers going could present a problem. As we see a Cure 3 for over 5,000 health on Porum from that Asura. So highlighting how ridiculous the magic is at this spot as well. But it looks like both runners.
Fairly stable fights, chipping away 2, 3, 4,000 damage at a time. I believe it's 39,000 HP at this spot.
37, I believe.
37. I knew
Still
it
a lot.
was an odd number. Well, an even odd number.
Yes.
Numbers. It's a number of HP at this spot, and the runners are doing great work to chew through it.
Yeah, it's a number that's more than 0 and less than infinity, and we'll call it somewhere in the high 30s.
Yep, glad we have an upper and lower bound.
Yeah, we got to make sure to set those boundaries, which apparently Dathis forgot to do on the level of mean in this seed before rolling it. But hey, we all learn.
You set the boundaries, it's just that they're maximum.
And we have a mop down on B's side. We have an Asura down on Locke's side.
All right, let's see what key item is here. Will it be that legend sword that we're looking for, or will it be another piece of edge gear? It is the legend sword. That is go mode for Locke. Behind Asura, and B's not far behind, gonna get her legend sword.
I was gonna say that is go mode for both runners. At roughly an hour and 50 in, both, I'm sure, in full panic mode at this point. But here we go. Again, Locke does have one major advantage here. he has the levels. He did those 2 gold dragon fights, picked up that extra 360,000 experience. That means he's probably not going to have to grind at all. He does have to turn into Pinktail still, though. So it's going to be interesting to see, does Bees grind at all? Does Bees go in a little lower level? How many sirens, if any, has Bees found?
It looks like by stopping by the save point, she might be doing maybe another moon boss, maybe some random encounters to try and get a little bit of XP. Possibly not quite content with those levels in the low 40s.
Yeah, and without something like a Crystal Sword Cecil, without even an Excal Cecil, that's a tough one. So might even see that additional lunar boss you talked about, or maybe does have going for trap.
Looking for trap chests.
Finding of
Does
all
she have
things.
a couple? Yeah, finding an Odin summon.
That's really rude. Found Odin forehead. Locke getting his Avenger, going to be turning in that Legend Sword and then going to be on his way.
Bee's not finding any of those trap chests she's looking for. There's one. But hopefully... Oh no!
Well, yep, that's a trap chest, all right. That's going to be, 207,000 XP?
Yeah, it'll be a lot, but there's a reason that these bosses are in the Lunar Core. Or these mini-bosses, these enemies. This is going to be another rough fight, possibly. It'll be a lot of XP, and a probably good piece of loot, but...
You mean you don't like fighting the 2 red dragons in this game that you literally never want to have to fight?
As much fun as it is, and as much of a character builder that slogging through heat rays and punches for thousands of damages, no, I don't want to fight 2 dragons.
Looks like we have some power shirts, some Zeus gauntlets on Locke's side. I think I saw a life staff in that shop, though, that he purchased. I think Murasame's might have been in there. So, just more ninja stuff for Edge, who doesn't exist. But that is the crystal for Locke, our first runner officially in go mode, with the crystal ready to go to the big bad final boss.
And big and bad he is. Should be flying straight over to Troya shortly to use that pass from the D-Mist in Dwarf 1.
And Bees gets through
those red dragons. Nice hefty chunk of experience there. And I blinked and missed the treasure.
Yeah, I also missed it.
But what I'm not
looks
missing
like
are...
Looks like it was a Bahamut summon.
Ah.
But Pancraz, I see that chat thinks it's time to take a nap.
No, it's always time to take a nap. It's 5 in the afternoon, 5 in the early evening. It's perfect time for a little siesta.
Exactly. So I think I'm going to take a little siesta because I believe that there's a question mark after those Z's. So I'm going to take a nap and I'm going to let you do your thing since it's your first time on comms. And you have a question you need to ask.
Of course, we have a question. Zeramus is the final boss of Final Fantasy IV, but he is big, he is mean, he is terrifying, and he uses Big Bang. So naturally, we can't move him around in the randomizer. We got to keep him here, caged up on the moon for us to go and fight later on. But being a randomizer, we can't keep him necessarily as terrifying as he usually is. We instead randomize the sprite from exactly 527 different options, done by our fantastic art dev, Scala Kitty. So we will find out very shortly as Locke throws the crystal here. Whose butt are we kicking this evening?
I hope it's Hahahamas, but also that was another Bahamut summon for Poorlydrawnbees from a trap chest. Oh, you hate to see it.
You do.
Oh, it's a blue shell.
Hey, I saw this recently.
Shouldn't this be a blue shell from Poorlydrawnbees going after Locke? Isn't that how the whole
She
blue
might
shell?
have sent it through time and space to get on his screen right now.
was gonna say that's how this works. This is the perfect plan from Bees, knowing that she might be behind right now, sending out that blue shell to snipe Locke just before the finish, and pass him, or wait for it, maybe tie him.
Maybe 2 more people in brackets. Hey, let's see it.
But looks like.
Go ahead.
Looks like Locke is going through doing Zerker strats, not seeing any hybrid. So looks like this is going to be purely Zerkers, not relying on nuke from Fusoya, probably keeping that MP pool as healthy as can be, just keep the Zerkers cured, and do this kind of safe and sound.
Yeah, with the double power shirts that he purchased from the Coco shop, these canes are going to be very strong. Although he does have a Star Veil up on that Fusoya.
All right. Wow. A random nipple.
Yeah, just what you want from the Gold Dragon encounters. Looks like Bees completes a full grind to the big spells on her twins. Going to be chasing shortly after Locke. He has a couple thousand damage in the Z fight already, and a couple meaning 30. But one quick little Z non-cooperation can bring this basically in lockstep.
Nicely done. This is one wipe from being basically dead even. So while it's unlikely, again, that a runner of Locke's caliber will take a wipe here, it's not out of the question. Zeromus is rude. Zeromus likes to do this thing called combo plattering, which for those unfamiliar is when a big bang happens, and right after that, sometimes even before you get a chance to cure, a Meteo happens. And then all your characters take somewhere between 2,500 to 3,500 damage total, and it gets really bad. So we hope that doesn't happen.
And it looks like he is opting to nerf the Big Bang here with that Silk Web from Porum, trying to reduce the damage, lower it down to a sub 1200 threshold, minimize the chances. Although, looks like actually it was a fake shake. No Big Bang is coming.
Yeah, I think that was the HP refill, so that means that the next thing we see will be a shake into a Big Bang, and then we will see a counter nuke come out. So this is a little bit dangerous if this one doesn't get nerfed. I think Fusoya is probably not long for this world. Yeah, I think Fusoya is out of MP, and Locke has said, if the old man dies, the old man dies. He did what he could.
Porum at 18 HP. Hope gotta survive this and get this Cure 4 off. Otherwise, this can get really dicey.
Yeah, this is a very important role on Porum here. Fusoya is gone. Porum, 1,400.
1,400.
Nice.
Nicely done, Porum. Good dodges. Gets that Cure 4 off. Gets everybody topped back up to full HP, more or less. And that looks like a Meteo tip. That is a Meteo tip.
Very close to Big Bang into Meteo combo platter, but that Cure 4 got off. And that should pretty much seal the deal for Locke. Let's see. Where's the crack? Where's the boom? There it is.
There it is. That is Locke Live finishing in first place with a race bot time of 1:59.20. GG's to Locke. We'll see. I believe he's in here for an interview now.
GG's, Locke.
Thank you. That was a wild ride.
Yeah. Before I ask any questions, and before I even let or cede power to Pancras to ask questions, I just want your general thoughts on that seed, Locke. I want to hear it from the man himself.
Golbez sucks. I kind of figured nothing was going to be behind that Golbez, but I was like, if I get like the Baron key like I got, I was like, all right, cool. If there's a boss down here, perfect. And then nothing. The Golbez was so rough.
Yeah,
and the Ogopogo.
We kind of speculated that both you and Bees were looking for any opportunity to not go to Feymarch. And I think that's kind of what happened. Was that what you were leaning towards? Was I don't want to do either of those, especially that Ogopogo?
Pretty much. Like
Don't blame you.
Rubicante there, I know just has good magic and is really fast. So I'm like, okay, that's gonna suck. And then Ogopogo in general is just awful.
So, characters, you saw a lot of them, but not the ones you usually want in this flag set. You saw a couple Canes, a couple Tellas, you saw a Sid, eventually got a Fusoya, but no Cecil, no Rosa, no Edge. Thoughts in general on the characters you were offered? Were you comfortable? Were you not? What was your feeling on it?
I mean, luckily we got good spears for Kane, so that actually helped out. If we didn't get any good spears, then that would have been awful. But I think I had a white spear, like 15, 20 minutes in, so it really helped out for the early game.
Yeah, definitely had one of those, and then you found that defense sword from the Mad Ogres, which I assume you were pretty happy about.
Yeah, after getting second cannon, was like, perfect, another good weapon for him.
And the Fame Arch obviously was a huge issue here. How many seeds have you played, or are you super familiar with not having sirens and shops on these flag sets? Was that something that you were comfortable with or uncomfortable? Kind of take us through that.
I've had a couple without sirens, and usually those seeds tend to clear everything, so I get the levels that way. Mm-hmm. Or like I find one or two, so usually that's just about enough to boost me up, as long as I use them when I have 10 key items, which that's what I was saving them for.
Definitely makes sense. Yeah, well, again, GG for me. You played really well. That seed was not friendly. So, it was great to watch you do what you do. Pankraz, got any questions for Locke, our winner this evening?
No, that was the bulk of it. GG's on your finish. I did have one, which is mostly about the moon routing. You get the Darkness Crystal an hour 30, hour 40 in the seed from that super rude Ogopogo. And you make a beeline straight to the bottom of the moon. Was there any monologue going on about, do I top down and try to find the Legend Sword and face check, or do I go to the bottom, maximize density, pop those sirens that you do have on the gold dragons, and try to get a whole bunch of XP?
I actually would prefer to go down, because at that point I am looking for one key item or one boss fight. So getting 4 key item checks plus 3 bosses seemed a little bit better than trying to get through a boss at the top before getting experience, and then the Wyvern spot I was going to do after Ashura anyway, but
No,
I just felt like I feel like getting the experience really helped out to just make the Canes a little bit stronger for the bosses I did fight.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with no quick access to those sirens, just having the couple from the loot. I think that solid play. Solid play throughout the whole seed.
Thank you. Yeah, I was kind of worried, because at the end there, Fusai ran an MP, I had nothing to heal with. I didn't really shock much, which is bad on my part.
Yeah, we were talking about it when you were doing those gold dragons, using your last life potion to get that life glitch.
It was worth it. It was absolutely worth it.
XP is very, very helpful to have.
Definitely. And then I noticed on the restream too, I bought that life staff and never put it on.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Like I was watching that, I'm like, did I actually equip that life staff? Like I put on the power shirt, put on got ready to use the Avenger, not put on the life staff. That sucks.
Look, if you deal enough damage, you don't have to worry about healing, right?
Exactly.
So you had it under control.
Exactly.
It looks like Porum didn't need it anyway, taking 1,400 on that one big bang, and then
I was scared there, actually, because I'm like, I know Big Bang can high roll on Porum and just end everything. So I feel like I got a little lucky there.
Well, you know what they say, better lucky and good. And
right.
You were both. So again, wonderful job this evening from you. You are 4-2. You have made brackets. Very
Hooray.
well done. So I want to know from you, anyone you're looking forward to seeing, anyone you're looking forward to avoiding. Bracket flags, how are you feeling about them in general? Have you touched them yet? Have you gotten
Nope.
to experience them?
Sure haven't. This usually how my Final Fantasy IV tournament life goes. I do great in the groups, make it to the brackets, and haven't touched the brackets at all, and lose the first match of the brackets. So I'm going to be actually practicing this.
Excellent.
Sure, I can win at least one in the brackets.
Well, luckily you've got a week off between now and the start of the plans to practice all you want.
Yeah, but that week's gonna be full of Link to the Past rando because I'm in that tournament too.
I was about to say, I mean, is there a tournament for the randomizers?
No, I'm in like 6. I'm literally in like 5 or 6 right now, and one of my Link to the Past matches is in like 8 hours. I'm gonna lose my mind sometime this next couple of weeks.
Hopefully not until we see you in the brackets.
Yes. It's very bold, and it's honestly incredible that you're able to play that many different randomizers at such a high level. This one included. There's a lot of folks who just dedicate themselves to 1 or 2 games. You being able to play all of them and play all of them well is a testament to your ability. So
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, you with a bunch of practice on bracket flags, that's a scary proposition for anyone who has to go against you.
Thank you. I need to though. I want to do good in this tournament, so I'm gonna do good in all of them, honestly, as best as I can. So be ready, everyone in brackets.
Well, best of luck in all of them, and best of luck going forward. GG's again on your finish tonight.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for restreaming, and thanks everyone for commentating. I'll have to definitely watch this back when I'm eating lunch or something. So thank you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you for putting on the show.
Yeah, GG again, Locke. And with that, we are now joined by Poorlydrawnbees. GG, Poorlydrawnbees.
GG.
I would like a refund, please.
I was going to ask. That seed.
Yep. Don't fault you.
Oh gosh, so I came into this thinking that I was like, Ogopogo's not big of a deal or whatever, and now 2 weeks in a row I lose because of wiping Ogopogo, and I'm starting to get the reputation here.
Yeah, that Ogo is unpleasant. Not gonna lie, I was cheering for it to be required the whole time, and I'm still not gonna apologize. But
Fine. You don't have to apologize as long as I get my refund.
There you go. Get your refund, and you'll be plenty happy. Dathis controls the refunds. I don't have to worry about that.
Unmute your mic, you coward. No, it was a good time now. And I mean, I have nothing to be upset about, honestly. So it's like, I came into this tournament expecting to get like 1, maybe 2 wins against like newer racers or whatever, but I went on a little bit of a tear and got some wins, and not just because randoed, but because I legitimately played, somewhat decently. Got my 3 wins, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. Got me through one of the most stressful months of my life, and I got everything out of this tournament and then some. I mean, people seem to know who I am now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you played great in this one as well. This seed was supremely difficult. It was near the top end of what Swiss is going to do from a difficulty standpoint. Between the character compositions you were offered and the bosses where they were, just nothing about it was easy. Everything was a struggle, and everything was a chain. So...
I need to go back to the seed later and see if Odin was that package, because I seriously thought about it. If it was any character other than Tella, I would have taken him just to see if it was Odin.
I believe we saw in the spoiler log that Odin was behind the tower key.
Oh, okay.
Giving something. And the tower key, I want to say, was from CPU at Cave Bahamut.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's a lot less exciting.
Well, but also a gross fight, because it takes 10 years.
Yeah, it does.
But
that was a fun seed to end the run on, though.
Yeah, you again had a great run. You had some really tough competition that you ran up against week after week. And so, you started out, in a just on fire, like you stated, getting to that 3-0. And then you just got hit with 3 incredibly tough opponents. You played well in every match, but sometimes rando gonna rando, and it happens.
Yeah, it turns out when you win, you'd face tougher opponents, and yeah, I also want a refund on that, please. No, it's good times though, good times. All right, so yeah, I should probably start heading off. I have to leave for work in like 5 minutes. So
Oh, all right.
yeah, I'd like to thank you all for everything. Thank you, Possum Morpheus and Pancrez, for being on the comms. Thank you to the Restream team for doing a great job as always, and thank you to all of the viewers for watching tonight. Hopefully we put on a half-decent show and kept you all entertained on this wonderful Saturday night. With that, I am going to sign off. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
Likewise, GG's again.
Thank you,
GGs.
Emily. GG. Well, that is going to do it for this race, but please make sure you stay tuned as we have some other announcements to make after this one. So Locke and Poorlydrawnbees complete their match, the last of the restreamed events for round 6 of the Swiss tournament. Locke does get the W here, moves to 4-2, and is able to play in the bracket stage now. Poorlydrawnbees with a heck of a run, finishing at 3-3, but taking out some big names and getting to play some others on the way. So GG's to both Locke and Poorlydrawnbees, not just for this race, but all of their races so far.
Yeah, a fantastic tournament showing from both of them.
Everyone. Hello. I was waiting for a good segue to come on in. It is Scala. I'm not here for once popping in to have to retime anything or do any of those sorts of admin announcements. But since this is our last restream of the Swiss rounds, I wanted to come in, do some thank yous, and then also announce a few things. So first of all, I want to thank all of our runners. We had 107 people sign up for this event, making this another one of this big, wonderful events. And now we're down to just 38 folks who will be moving on to brackets. And we are so excited to continue on with the tournament after we have our break. I also want to give a lot of thanks to our Restream team for all of their hard work. Over the course of the last 6 weeks, we have done 125 different streams. And we can't do that without absolutely each and every one of our team members, all of whom put in so much hard work every single day. And it has just been an amazing opportunity to work with every one of y'all. So third, we will be having oh, Death is getting ahead of me here. That's okay. We can remind folks about the ladder. You're fine, Dathis. I'll skip ahead then. I want to remind folks about the free enterprise ladder. So that is going to be something that you all can join on in. It starts on April 19th. We have 5 different flag sets for you all to enjoy. We'll be having races going around the clock, and I hope you all are able to get in on some 1v1 action. The thing I was going to originally announce third, we will be having a bracket flag roundtable discussion and reveal stream on Friday. So for those folks who are looking forward to all of that, that'll be on Friday night. The exact time will be determined after the admins all have a nap. But we have one last announcement, and this is the one I am really, really hyped for, that we've been working really hard to make happen. So I'll wait for Dathis to do things. Thank you, Dathis! We are really excited to announce that Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise is going to be featured this week on GDQ Hotfix on the show Random Number Generation. It's going to be Tuesday, the 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be doing a double feature. First up, we'll be having a bracket expo race, and that's going to be between Dia and Pancras. For the commentary for that, we will have Rex Rawl and Zoe Vermillion. And then after that, we'll be having a Push B to Jump showcase done by Gambit 017 with Antidale on comms. And I really hope that you all will come out and join us. It's It's a great honor to be invited back to GDQ Hotfix. It's been a few years since we've been on, and we really want to show the GDQ audience kind of how the randomizer has changed and how it's grown, and how we have both this incredible competitive scene that puts on some of the best RPG speed, like randomizer speedrunning out there. And also, we have a lot of really fun and unique ways to enjoy Final Fantasy IV. So I hope you all will enjoy sort of the new things that we have going on during this week, and then come back again next week, all super duper hyped up for the bracket stage. And I hope you all will have yourselves a wonderful rest of your evening. So I'm looking to see where we are going to be bringing all of this good energy. All right. We'll go ahead. We're going to go ahead. We are going to raid Commander Leonhardt. So all of you, remember, don't spoil this race, but you can feel free to spoil all the surprises. I'll be making some tweets, some announcements, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And thank you again to both Possum and Pancras, and to Dathis and Solaris for all of your hard work on this race. And I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful night.